Today is a good day to bottle.
Kapla.
Alright, so this is our Klingon Blood Wine. And you know what? We're going to bottle it because it should be done. We did a check on it. We're going to check it again today just before we bottle. And then at the end, we're going to give a little bit of a taste just to see how it's doing. Normally we would taste before we bottle, but we already know that this one is pretty well done and we back sweetened it already. It is a combination of, okay, it's a wine with plums, espresso, Thai chili, cinnamon, anise, cloves, raisins, using Lalvin K1 V1116 or V116, I don't know, some people say it all different ways, yeast, Concord grape juice, and the original gravity was 1.060. We got a reading of 1.002, not surprisingly, a few weeks later, which made it very, very dry. This was intended to be a step feed. We added a pound of sugar to it, making it 1.048, back on February 25th, 2020. So this tells you, this has been going for quite some time. That fermented out to 0.992 by March 26th. This is of 2020. Then we added a pound of brown sugar to it to bring it to 1.022. So you see, there's a combination of all kinds of crazy stuff going on in this one. And it's somewhere around 16%. I know I said 17.5 in that video, but that was using the less accurate method, I think. So this is somewhere around 16%, or was. And today, we're going to find out what it's at now. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is take its final reading. And, you know, I just have to take the cap off. This is the first time this cap's been removed since the last time we did a video on this. Just so you're aware, we don't do things off camera just to kind of do the smoke and mirrors thing. No, everything is real. And a lot of people have asked, can't you just take the hydrometer and drop it right in your fermenter? Yes, you can, as long as your fermenter is large enough. As you can see, this would not work. I won't get an accurate reading that way. There's not enough liquid. So I use a graduated cylinder. People have also been asking, why don't you just use a wine thief? Well, technically I am. I mean, it's in the form of a turkey baster, but it is basically a wine thief. In a bottle like this, it's not as critical. You could use anything you want. The wine thief that I have is large, cumbersome, and its diameter is far too large for some of our other fermenters. So I just use this one. It's no big deal. Okay, this is very odd. We seem to have made an inaccurate record somewhere. I'm okay admitting that because, you know, we're human. We make mistakes. We recorded a 0.992 gravity. Then the next note says 1.022 plus 1 pound brown sugar. Now, I can't imagine how we got from 992 to 1.022 without adding that sugar. Therefore, I believe the brown sugar was added before that gravity was reading. But I think that gravity reading is inaccurate because today it is reading 1.038, which is a full 16 points higher than the last reading. However, what do we know about sugar? We know that 1 pound in a gallon of must is about 0.046 gravity. Well, it went from 0.992 to 0.022. That's only 30 points. So where'd the other 16 points go? Right there. So I read a hydrometer wrong. See, everybody does it. I don't know why they make them the way they do. But I'm okay with this, and I'm telling you guys the truth because I must have made a mistake. There is absolutely no way I didn't. 16 points, it equals out. It should have been 16 points higher. It is now. There you go. So every once in a while, you know, you just kind of got to go along with it. You got to realize something, folks. We're doing all this on the fly. I have to think about what I'm doing, think about what I'm going to say next, make sure that I don't say something stupid that people are going to pick on me or make a meme about, and still do the real thing along the way.
Also, we are human.
Speak for yourself. But anyway, this is at 1.03, what did you say? 8. 1.038. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. I am actually all right with that. Some people say that that's a super, super sweet wine and things like that. And you know what? I like super sweet wine, so sue me. But I'm going to pour a little bit off here to the side, and we'll give a taste on that later. Being that it was supposed to be 16 points higher, and it is, and that was back on March 26th, and it is now June 3rd, I'm going to go with it's done. It hasn't moved even 1 gravity point in 2 months. we're fine. I'm not going to pour this back in here because if I do that, it could stir up any lees that might be on the bottom. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to get a pitcher out and we're going to rack this out of this bottle. There's a good reason for that. I don't like to have to worry about the lees at the bottom. This is a very, very, very dark brew. I can't see it. So if we get it off that lees, put it into a pitcher, now I'm not worried about anything that might have gotten stirred up when we bottle. We have a new crew member today. It's called the Bucket of Elevation. Wibble, the white bucket of elevation. I need to make a new cartoon now. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and we're going to put it on top of Wibble, and it should sit nice and flat. The reason you want to elevate is because anytime you are racking, you need your source vessel to be higher than your destination vessel.
Hopefully, Wibble does not wobble.
But he won't fall down. All right, and just put that in about halfway, put this to the bottom, and give it a couple of longer strokes. I want to use longer strokes for this. However, I think the seals on our particular auto siphon are starting to go. So shorter strokes tend to work a little bit better. But 3. All it took was 3. How many licks does it take to get to the net? And we're just going to rack this off. Now, we're using this bucket because A, the method of putting it in my lap and everything, you couldn't see what we were doing. And B, this gives us just about the perfect height. And we have these laying around, so it just made the most sense. Rather than coming up with some contraption, just use a 2-gallon bucket. It doesn't even have to be white. Oh, all this, I'm going to pour that into this pitcher rather than back into that one.
We don't have to worry about cross-contamination. Why? Because all these things have been sanitized in the red bucket of sanitization!
All right, so racking is done. Not a lot of waste, maybe about that much at the bottom. There's a tiny film of lees at the bottom that we really didn't want to disturb, so we left that there. I'm okay with that. Look at how close to a gallon this is. Maybe I need to do a test on my wide mouths to see if they really are a gallon anymore. Maybe they got bigger. They grew. That's what it is. They grew. All right, so now we're getting ready to bottle, which basically means the same idea. We put this up on Wibble, put our bottle over there, get the auto siphon ready. And for this, I'm also going to use a bottling wand, which if you've ever seen any of our bottling videos, you know what this is. It is literally a switch, okay? It has a springy thing in the bottom here, and that is the technical term. And when that pushes against the bottom of the bottle, the liquid flows. When you let it go, the liquid stops. That way you have control. You want to put this on your auto siphon only about yay far, maybe that much, because any further and it's going to be almost impossible to get off later, any less and things may happen in the bottling process.
Bad things.
So I'm going to start by sticking this end in here and this end in here, and because we made sure to rack this to a pitcher, I can put it all the way to the bottom with no worry at all. In order to get it started though, you do have to push down or else you will pump that all day long and nothing will happen. So just go ahead and get it started. You may notice that Wibble now has a protective coating of a towel because we realized that things slid around just a little bit on him. And I didn't really like that. Also, these bottles are a new thing for us. We're trying these out. We just got them. They are on Amazon. There's a link in the description below. They are a screw top bottle on purpose because we realized a lot of our still being not carbonated, we didn't need swing tops and they're a lot more expensive. So these bottles were cheaper, and with the plastic cap, I can see these lasting for a long time. My initial impression is they're thick enough, heavy duty enough that they should last you for years of use. You can probably get new caps for them too. I'll have to check into that. When you're bottling, don't be afraid. Let it go all the way up into the neck and you'll see in a moment. I like to have another bottle ready for that moment. And as it gets there, here it goes, here it goes. Not yet. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, and now. See what happened? It took up some of that liquid, so by letting it go all the way to the top, it's a little nerve-wracking when you first start doing it.
This is what we call displacement.
Yeah. By doing that, though, see how it's just into the neck of the bottle, just past the shoulder? The least amount of contact we can possibly have, therefore not as likely to turn into vinegar. However, something of note, this is at least 16% ABV, which means, because it's past 15%, not a lot of acetobacters can actually operate. They start getting weaker at 10%. This is something we've learned just recently, that you really can't make vinegar past 16% alcohol. Who knew, right? Someone told me that, and I looked it up, and they're actually right. Acetobacter doesn't like to work anything past 10%. So it makes it much more difficult to make vinegar. Therefore, oxidization is not as much of a worry in higher proof meads and wines. And bottling is now done. We spared you the gory details of watching us fill each and every bottle. When you get towards the end, there's always going to be like a little odd. It's kind of hard to get exactly 5 bottles or whatever, because a gallon is 3.785. This is a US gallon, by the way. There's been some confusion. 3.785 liters, which would come to about 5 bottles plus 10 milliliters. I have never actually had that happen. So, in this case, we got 4 750s and 1 16-ounce. This is actually a beer bottle, but it makes a nice single serving size for wines, too. Anyway, we had a little bit left over. I poured that into our tasting glass. So we have a decent amount to taste. On the smell, I'm still getting a little bit of green. Like, this is young, okay? It's only a few months old. But I know on the taste it's different because it was last time too. I'm not giving anything away.
Poker face.
No, I can't do poker face. I smile too much. On the taste, it's lovely. It is really, really nice.
I'm getting more of the coffee notes forward than I did before. I had to kind of hunt for them. But as soon as you go, oh, that kind of tastes like coffee, then it's like, hello, chili. Ah!
Yeah, the chili is strong. I get the cinnamon,
and then
anise.
And you get the fruit underlying all of it. And
but the sweetness, the extra little bit of sweetness there is welcomed because it actually balances out all those harsher tannics and strong flavors. This is really nice. It's really, really good. It is not an aggressive, like, knock you on your butt type of Klingon blood wine, but it's 16% alcohol, so
sure.
It goes down like fruit punch.
It's not like drinking whiskey where you have to make the face because it's involuntary.
No, this is enjoyable.
But the complexity of the flavors and the different, almost discordant notes.
Give me more.
Make it feel like it could be a Klingon blood wine or a Klingon beverage of some sort.
Second sip. It is not aggressive in that harsh or hard to drink. It's aggressive, though, in the flavor components.
Yeah.
Coffee, the cinnamon anise note, the capsicum, which I'm not getting a lot of, but I get just a touch of it. Just enough that you know there's chili in there.
Right. It's not a mild...
A little bit smoky.
...hunt for the flavors. No, the flavors are going to find you. Yeah. You don't have to find them.
But what it really tastes like is a very spiced grape wine. Almost like a mulled wine with chilies added. It's really good. We're going to have a longer tasting, a more explanatory tasting in a few months.
Yeah, we're going to let this age. We're going to let this mellow out. We're going to let all the flavors blend. And then we're going to give a detailed tasting with all the notes included, including pairings with food.
However, I would say that the Klingon Blood Wine, as we did it in the videos, is a complete success, okay? So if you're thinking of doing this, please do it, and do it the way we did. Use the ingredients we used. Use the yeast we used. Those things are important. We're seeing a lot of people saying, oh, I did it just like you, and it didn't come out the way you said. But I substituted this yeast for this yeast, and this juice for that juice, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that. Okay, if you don't do what we did, it's not going to be the same. That's the way this works. It's a science and an art. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
We're getting the least amount of oxidation or air. We're getting the least amount of surface to air
ratio.
We're getting the least amount of surface to air interference there that we can get. So there's the least amount of contact we can possibly have. Therefore, not as likely to turn into vinegar.